Copyright disclaimer.
Every time. How could you read this bell? There aren't any pictures in it. Why wouldn't you read this bell? There's so many pictures in it. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Bill, and today I'm doing something a little bit different. I recently did a video about watching and discussing Nimona, just in time for me to lose access to the Netflix account I was borrowing from. I appreciate getting access to Netflix for as long as I did without having to pay. I'm sure at some point I'm gonna have to get Netflix for something. I just don't want to give them money yet until they pay people properly. So I decided to grab the graphic novel. The graphic novel by N.D. Stevenson. The graphic novel by N.D. Stevenson. I just wanted to check it out, talk about it a little bit, but I figured this is a good way to not only support the Nimona property, the IP as a whole, in the hopes of getting more either from Nimona or from N.D. Stevenson in the future, but also just why not try something new? Click the buttons and subscribe and let me know and all that stuff if you want more book things. I will be putting up a spoiler warning when I start getting into more specifics, but I kind of just want to talk about the book and compare some of the changes from the movie, because this is it's so interesting how different and the same the book is compared to the Netflix movie. I feel like this is also the closest thing to bonus features I'm gonna get without there being a Blu-ray DVD thing of Nimona. There's tons of ways for me to spend money in this capitalistic society for more Nimona things. First off, changing mediums didn't hinder my experience at all. I love animation, that's no secret here. I love music, that's also no secret here. Here the pictures don't move. Despite the pictures not moving and no music going on, it still captivated me just as well in this medium, which I'm really appreciative of. I don't really go a lot from animated material to a book. Something I'm interested in doing in the future. There's literally moments where Nimona's shape-shifting and changing and the images are leaping over the panels. I really love playing with those borders. The story is somehow the same, but so different, to the point where I feel like you could kind of tie the book and movie together in this AU scenario. Again, I'll warn for spoilers. The story has functionally the same beats, it just chooses to focus on different things, or things are delivered in slightly different ways. For example, both open with Ballister being ostracized from the world, the community, the city. However, we don't open with what happened, and it kind of creates this narrative parallel between what happened to Ballister and what happened to Nimona, both of which are explored in the book. There's a lot of moments that are lifted directly into the movie, and some are kind of changed, and I don't mean in the let's keep this accessible for a wider age range kind of way, like changing the bar scene with Ballister and Goldenloin to ordering nachos at a restaurant with a bar, or toning down the violence. In the movie, it's a lot more cartoony, whereas in the comic, by I think it's the 10th page. The 10th page has Nimona turning into a little girl who looks so much like Mabel Pines that it made me laugh even harder, and she just stabs a guy. It's not over the top by any means, but there is still violence in the graphic novel, and I can kind of see in a world where, unfortunately, I don't agree with it, but it exists, where certain themes or certain things, whether it's a heavy topic like mental health or two dudes kissing, if you have to sacrifice one, I guess the violence and the action would make the most sense, so you could still have the others in a world of ratings and algorithm and is this gonna go in the family cabinet category thing. I still really like the fun of the movie's action. There's just something a little heavier about the book that just makes everything have a bit of a darker tone, and that's also felt in the character exploration, because we don't know initially what happened to Ballister. We just show up in Ballister's life the day Nimona shows up and is ready to be his sidekick, and you're a supervillain, you're an evil scientist genius. Something that I do kind of wish was in the movie, but I get it. And I want to be clear, the graphic novel didn't make me want to change the movie. This made me want to selfishly add an extra 45 minutes to an hour, making it a much longer movie to add in some of these details. Ballister is a scientist, and there's a lot of jokes about him and his love for science and plot elements revolving his love for science that isn't in the movie and doesn't need to be there. However, it does kind of lead to in this world of magic and science, who is Nimona. And the book tackles that head on in a way that I kind of missed that in the movie, but the movie was telling the same story in such a different way to where the movie left me thinking, well, I don't need this. The book goes a little deeper into Nimona's backstory, and I really loved it. It would have been cool to have seen in the movie. Again, I don't really want to change the movie. I was just like, oh, these are cool added details. Again, I feel like, before getting into spoilers, you could finish this book and then start the movie, and it kind of seamlessly transitions you into a redo, alternate universe, in another life, second take kind of thing. The plot still follows the same story of Ballister, an ostracized former knight with a robotic arm, wanting to expose the Institute, the director, and his less defined but not any less interesting not boyfriend anymore Golden Loin, and taking on the system as a whole. And he's already an established supervillain. He's done things in the past. He mentions rules to Nimona. He doesn't want to kill. He wants to upend society without taking it over as the next king. One of the big notable changes, there's no queen. There's a king who you never see. And Nimona, classic Nimona fashion, that's still there in the movie. Let's add fire to this plan. Let's break stuff. The book still very much carries that spirit, destroy the system, while Ballister wants to get to the bottom of it. He's very Robin Hood-esque in a lot of ways. He doesn't want to harm innocent people. He doesn't blame society as a whole. He blames the Institute. And it kind of holds a little more weight in this reality because we also see the townspeople revolt against the Institute, question the Institute, both in person-to-person instances as well as in like the news and media. More often than not, if we see a civilian in the movie, it is usually someone pointing a sword or a finger at Nimona or Ballister or both. And I liked getting that perspective in the book. Nimona finds classified encoded documents. Turns out that the Institute in the book has been secretly trying to harness evil magic and this sort of plant to do research on some type of weapon. And that could impact the ecosystem of the crops as well as poisoning the food that's given to the civilians. And that's kind of where the story starts as opposed to clearing Ballister's name. The direction pivots away pretty quickly from the movie, which is, I won't get too much into the movie. Go watch my video about the movie if you want. Please and thank you. In the movie, Ballister has always been ostracized, but never really wanted to acknowledge or examine that. And that's a really big theme for him in the movie. In the book, he's already been a villain. It's a pretty similar resignation to your role, and that's what Nimona starts to challenge by existing. I wouldn't say it's darker, definitely heavy with a different approach. It's a really good story. Like, I only put this graphic novel down once, and that was to go pee. I couldn't stop I couldn't stop reading it as soon as I started. These characters are still so relatable and the story is so interesting and complex. It makes me want a third incarnation of Nimona where we get more of the graphic novel set to moving pictures and sound and music. I don't feel like I like one better than the other because I also understand pivoting to tell a more direct story because yes, there's still a lot of allegory and metaphor for gender fluidity and expression, representation, ostracizing someone who's different despite at our core we are all human. Didn't help that I was wearing this today, so ouch. Links in the description should you or someone need them. It still very much speaks on that. I just feel like the movie wanted to hit that point harder. And I don't blame them. I don't blame you for wanting to get more, focusing more on that element, how we ostracize each other, how we're complacent in letting ourselves be minimized to try to fit in and get along. I really appreciate the movie taking those themes on and, like I said, sacrificing the violence in favor of those messages and themes. In a perfect world, two dudes kissing doesn't change the rating at all. And that's not to say that the relationship isn't there. It's just, it's very alluded to. There's no kiss. Spoilers, I guess. There's no kiss, but the relationship is still there. Want a little kiss. I say overall, go check out the book if you liked the movie. I like being able to hold the book I'm reading. There's also digital ways that you can grab it. Not sponsored, blah, blah, blah. Spoilers. There's about the same amount of backstory for Ballister. It's just different. Nimona's is completely different and a lot more expanded on compared to the movie. While yes, we are talking about the struggles of, the trans experience, gender nonconforming experience, expansion reflection of the binary way that we look at human beings, as well as the way that we ostracize each other in all aspects of life, in and out and in between the letters of the LGBTQIA plus community, to the point where the only thing in the book that I feel like is missing from the movie is the revelation that Nimona was indeed born this way. There's still a fake out backstory that isn't true, kind of like the wishing well, which then gets revealed Nimona was always like this. In fact, the first power that's manifested in Nimona seems like it was healing when she was sick as a baby. Those themes are definitely still there. The transforming happened eventually when she was still very young, and it's mentioned that like her parents are like, this is an imposter child, where is my real child? Being arrested will fix you and return you to your parents, all good now. And it's discovered when Nimona is captured by the Institute and the director, who still has an obvious villainous presence. However, it's a lot more brief compared to the movie, and I kind of really like that. Both instances give you someone to point at and be angry at and shake your fist at, while still pointing to society around us going, and all of this needs to go too. The director captures Nimona, they get a sample of Nimona's blood, and Nimona's blood comes back. You are literally a human. I kind of wish there was a moment like that in the movie, but I also never once questioned the validity of Nimona. Even if like you're classified as shapeshifter, you still deserve to exist equally to everyone else. There was something about getting that confirmation after watching the movie several times and then reading the book where it kind of hit me. There was something very relieving for me about that. Baby, you are born this way. And the book has this conversation several times with a character that isn't in the movie. Oh, the scientist lady. Oh, what's your name? Meredith. There's a scientist that isn't in the movie, Meredith, who talks to Ballister about science and magic, and how magic is essentially an energy. Nimona is just able to access this energy. It has a very X-Men kind of quality to it, where Nimona is more like the evolution of humans and is able to tap into this energy. You can heal faster, you can change your appearance. It's literally down to the molecular level. When Nimona's blood is taken, there is now a separate entity with Nimona's cells changing into the monster, and Nimona gets split. Literally, Nimona now is little girl and giant maleficent dragon. Not as intense as the movie, but still a very intense, here's the binary of, what are you? Are you a monster or are you a girl? And then here they are, and it's about bringing them back together.
Just like in the movie, describing Nimona in binary definitions leaves describing Nimona as incomplete.
I liked exploring that, breaking down magic to the point of it being science, and also the hypocrisy of the Institute using this like magic to try to create a weapon to fight magic. They also augment Goldenloin's armor to be able to sustain him better in battle with someone who uses magic. And I love that hypocrisy. Oh, this is banned. This is bad. Magic bad. Oh, by the way, we're going to use tech to basically make you magic.
Here's a version of magic we can control. This is palatable to the institution because they have the ability to take it from you.
I love the moments between Ballister and Nimona where you feel their relationship growing and that sort of pseudo parent-child, guardian, mentor relationship that they have. Nimona's curled up after watching a scary movie in Ballister's cape, and he just resigns to unclipping it, making it her blanket. They go to the science fair where they learn about a device that can disrupt magic energy. Nimona wants to take him to the science place because he loves science and wants to give him something fun to do. And then all she wants is a churro and to leave. And they're both in disguises. Nimona's now, he's his son. I'm trying to keep up with Nimona's fluidity of gender. He's now his son in a form, and Ballister's wearing a fake beard, and the churro lady is like, he's a lot like you, huh? Yeah, I guess. Like, it's very sweet. There's still the board game Monopoly moment and breathing fire on the board. There's no metal, which is still one of my favorite things. It's still very nice. It's still very wholesome and heartwarming. I love that Ballister told his version of his backstory to Nimona. It's an interesting fantasy character trust exercise, and it's also felt in the action. The violence is more prevalent. I know I talked earlier about how the violence is more prevalent in the graphic novel compared to the movie. There's scenes where they are literally killing for each other. A guard almost gets the drop on Nimona, and Ballister stabs him through. And there's times where Ballister is in danger and Nimona saves him, or like I said, the Mabel Pines form. There's also a lot less of Ballister doing the why can't you be normal, and it makes sense. If Ballister's already like this scientist who knows that magic exists, he knows what a shapeshifter is, he just doesn't know anything about Nimona. Then that definition of shapeshifter continues to change. Nothing is so binary in either versions of this. Human with powers. With no care for my well-being comes no responsibility. Which also is in both the book and the movie. Nimona's plans will destroy society from the inside and rise like a phoenix, literally what happens in the movie. Nimona also pitches, let's add more fire, let's kill the king in front of everyone, and that's what Nimona does. I love seeing those narrative devices come back into play. There's also a couple of more villainous jobs, a bank heist, breaking in and out of buildings, using a scary but non-lethal poison to get people to pay attention to the leaked information that they found that they're using something poisonous to create weapons. They then watch as society starts to connect the fake poison that doesn't hurt you to what's going on, starting to see that distrust, that uprising that Ballister calls for, and seeing how while Ballister was right, there's ways to go about this. There's also times where I don't know how to word this. There's also times where Nimona is right, and extreme measures need to be met with extreme opposition. And it's also not a guarantee. I liked seeing Ballister's support and also acknowledgement of who she is as a person and acknowledging her as a person at that. It leads to a peace and an understanding. It's a much more subtle message, but it's still one very close to my heart where the day is essentially saved, but Nimona's missing now. We don't know if Nimona's alive or okay. All we know is that the Institute is gone. Ballister is a hero. Golden Loin is attacked. However, he's going to be okay. People believe in Ballister again. They're in the hospital recovering. Doctor comes in to check on Ballister and says, you need to recover from that attack from that monster, to which Ballister responds, do not call her a monster. She's not a monster. Doctor leaves. Doctor comes in. Hey man, what are you doing? Like, you need to go get rest. And you realize with Ballister that was Nimona, seeing him one last time. And I wouldn't say testing, but like kind of testing the waters, like trying to blend in, trying to elude Ballister, figuring out that that's Nimona. And then hearing Ballister say, she's not a monster, that correction, that assertion, that's enough for Nimona to see him one last time. And I'm going to read it. It's beautiful. Ballister sees Nimona one last time in a form that he recognizes, waving to him as she vanishes into the crowd. And then we get the epilogue. I don't know where Nimona is now. I haven't seen her since. At least, I don't think I have. I suppose I wouldn't know. I don't know if I'll ever see her again. It's probably for the best. Of course, I still wonder about every stranger who gives me a knowing look, community allegory, about every cat who watches me too closely. I can only hope I reached her in some small way. I can only hope that if she does come back, she'll know me for who I am. A friend. I don't know how else to describe this. I like to think that sentiment of the next time she'll see me, I hope she sees me as a friend. Flash forward to the movie, several years after the graphic novels come out. The first time Nimona sees Ballister, she has her headphones on, she just looks up, he's perfect. When she sees him, she does see, if not a literal friend, a possible ally. There's something about that initial response tied in with the ending of the graphic novel that I couldn't tell you if it's intentional or not. I'd love to know. I like to think that. That's kind of I guess it would be headcanon. Book Ballister got his wish. In a sense. I don't know why. Maybe I need this. There's something still incredibly powerful about this version of the Nimona story. It really speaks to me. It's very captivating. And I kind of love how each project, to me at least, holds up the other. I just feel like they're both very complementary. The book has a little more backstory and a little more fun and games. The bank heist. The movie has a direct linear, everything we're doing is servicing the framing of Ballister and how that then moves itself into the social stigma and framing of Nimona. It keeps me intrigued and in love with this story and this world and these characters. In the book, instead of Ballister being set up to kill the queen, Golden Loin is set up to blast off Ballister's arm. It's so interesting, and then seeing them finally talk about it and then finally an apology, and that's how they start to sort of reconcile their relationship, which is also used against Golden Loin more in the book than in the movie. The director doesn't really trust him because they have a relationship, one that the director didn't agree agree with. I found that line really telling and interesting. However, in the movie, it really stresses the, oh, look, like no one's angry that two dudes are kissing. However, they're still ostracized people. And also these two dudes kissing have gone through a lot of stuff. Like this is not a as healed or a progressive world or community as they like to believe. Each takes different avenues and lenses to address the same theme and concerns. It's very relatable, it's very validating, it's also very informative. And I loved it so much. And I find it really interesting that, again, the issue isn't Ballister, well, why aren't you just normal? It's like, dude, why'd you lie to me? Like, I don't trust you because you're lying to me about your powers. She lied about her backstory without acknowledging the reason why she doesn't want to tell him is because people get freaked out, because she doesn't want to be experimented on. I don't trust you, you're a liar, with the ignorance of, well, why do you think she's lying, dude? To, why don't you just be a normal girl? Like, I don't understand the question. I'm Nimona. I'm a shark now. Both versions still hit on those points in very different ways, and I really liked that. Again, complementary is how I see these two versions of the same story. Again, I strongly recommend the book. I loved it. The artwork is so fun and interesting. There's a moment where Nimona is stuck as an actual cat, can't talk, can't shapeshift, can't nothing. I love the intensity in those moments. Like, again, that doesn't happen in the movie, so it kind of doubles up on the mystery of what happened to Nimona, and is Nimona okay? I'm like, wait, what? You're losing your power? What's happening? It's very captivating and very tense, even if you're familiar with the movie. I can't, recommend this more. But yeah, there you guys go. Those are my thoughts on the Nimona graphic novel, just kind of my way of following up on the movie. If you want more Nimona content from me, or more books from things I like content for me, let me know. I don't even know how this video is going to come out. I don't know how to do a book, but I'm going to do my best. I'd love some feedback. I'd love to know what you guys think. I'd love to open up the channel to more chaos with my love of exploring new things in pop culture, music, animation, movies, and books. Oh my. Don't forget to like and subscribe, ring the bell, check the settings, blah 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 YouTube words. My gaming channel where I stream twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays, Bill Chill Gaming, is in the description next to my merch store. You can donate there to support me or pick up some merch. You can donate here with a super thanks. And speaking of the description, just like how there's all these ways to support me, remember to also support yourself. There is a link in the description to a card that will send you to resources for social awareness, mental health, crisis lines, Trevor Project resources, things like that. Should you or someone you know need them. I hope to see you next time I upload or go live. Be safe, be mindful of others, wear a mask if you choose to go out, and remember to take care of yourselves, please.